Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please be sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating. Folks, make sure you watch and listen to the end because we have big updates as far as timelines for the passing of the Clarity Act, and it comes from former chairman of the House of Representatives and the White House crypto advisor, Patrick Witt, plus huge altcoin news around XRP, Ondo, Canton network, and much more. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with Bitcoin because right now Bitcoin is sitting at $76,000. But the item I wanted to highlight to you guys is that the RSI on the daily, weekly, and monthly are all approaching oversold zones. So on the daily chart, we are extremely oversold. The RSI is below 30. It's actually turning red. Many of you know when we hit the overbought zone, it turns green, right? It goes 70 and above. It starts turning green. Well, we're that low in the opposite direction that we're turning red. So what have we seen? And this is market principles. This is textbook. This is not feelings or emotions or hopium. We've seen a reversal. The big question is, what type of reversal are we getting? Is it just simply a relief rally to 100K, 105K, then it rolls over? Or is it the continuation of the bull market? I honestly don't know, but I'm giving you the scenarios. So I hope you appreciate that these are the things that could play out. And, as we start moving up, I will certainly let you guys know what I'm thinking and where I'm going to take some profits and things along those lines. And if we see signs that this thing is going to continue to go higher. And on the weekly chart, the RSI is approaching levels where we've seen the bear market bottom. So for example, in 2022, as well as 2018 and all these things, this is just the data, guys. So it seems that some sort of bottom is forming here. And even on the monthly chart, the RSI is approaching levels that were near the bottom for 2022 and 2018. So this is similar to the weekly chart. Again, just the data. And remember, markets don't go down forever in one direction. It's cyclical. It rotates, right, guys? And the whales, they certainly use this to their advantage, and they get the sentiment to extreme fear. Then they, that's where they load up. They pump the market to extreme greed. They take their profits. Unfortunately, dumb money comes in and does the opposite. They buy the tops and then they start selling when the price crashes. But we don't want to do that. We want to be on the side of smart money. So this is a very good sign. In addition, we have Bitcoin MVRV. This is data from Sentiment. The 30-day is underwater and the 1 year is underwater. So this is signaling a reversal is coming, guys. It's the same cyclical pattern. You can actually line it up to the RSI. And this is, of course, a big metric that indicates how people are trading Bitcoin. So if things are underwater right now, they're going to go in the opposite direction. In addition, there's data coming in that big whales are opening longs aggressively. So again, this doesn't mean we're going to new all-time highs. It could just be the relief rally, right? So just want to make sure I give you the context. I'm obviously hoping for new all-time highs, but I want to keep things balanced and make sure, we don't get fooled and we are on the right side of the market here. And as far as macro and political headwinds, we got some good news that the U.S. House passes the government funding bill to end the shutdown. Apparently, President Trump is going to sign it. So that's good. It's a partial government shutdown, but at least this will be out of the way. This was something we were all concerned about, that there might be a shutdown like what we saw in Q4, which was the longest in the history of shutdowns, and that affected liquidity and much more. So this is a good sign. Now, guys, some very big news. Today was the Ondo Finance Summit, and Patrick McHenry, if you recall, he was the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, and he did a lot of work, going after Gary Gensler and so forth until he retired, and he now works in the crypto industry. But you also had Patrick Witt, who, of course, works with David Sachs at the White House. I've interviewed Patrick on the pod, and they were on stage, and let me play the clip for you where Patrick is saying that he's thinking a potential April 3rd signing for the Clarity Act. Now, I believe that's around his birthday, but he's saying it's around that timeline. Let me play the clip here.
So if I can put you on the spot, Patrick, when does the president sign the Clarity Act into law?
Well, I have a birthday coming up, so let's say April 3rd. How about that?
So Patrick Witt said April 3rd, president will have the Clarity Act signed into law. That is optimism, but I think it's quite realistic given the level of work that you, your boss, and your boss's boss have put into crypto being made in America once again. And I must say, and to wrap this section, these are two examples of fabulous people working in government, working for the public interest here. And I think what you've just heard from this panel today is the best of this administration in Washington. They are committed to the public service and to getting quick and solid action on digital assets. This is a reason why we should be optimistic about digital assets in the United States, and the United States being once again the capital of crypto for the world. And so with that, thank you all for being here. Mr. Witt, Mr. Williams.
So there you have it. You heard it from Patrick Witt and Patrick McHenry. And then in addition, Patrick McHenry was interviewed by the folks at CoinDesk, and he predicts that the market structure bill will pass before Memorial Day. Let me play the clip here.
I think we not only get a market structure bill before the midterms, I think we get a market structure bill before Memorial Day. And I think the Senate will act before Easter. I think it comes together. There's a major emphasis on this. What we saw, you heard from Patrick Witt, about the group he brought together on yield. Crypto came in and said, look, we want to negotiate. We actually want a reasonable compromise here and a reasonable approach to yield. And the bank sat there and listened and offered nothing. Well, that's not going to last long in Washington if the group that is holding it up, the banking industry, is unwilling to negotiate on something that has to be resolved to unlock market structure.
So very interesting statements from Patrick McHenry there, folks. And, he's very well connected. So I think even though the banks are playing hardball right now, Patrick is saying, look, they're going to have to come to some conclusion. And my hope is the banks capitulate. But look, you never know, man. These banks are powerful. They got a lot of money, a lot of resources. But the one thing, we know for sure, President Trump, he's very pro-crypto, obviously has a ton of crypto businesses. So in one way, that's a good thing because he has skin in the game and he's going to want to see crypto prosper as much as possible. So I'm leaning towards the banks are going to capitulate because simply the fact that President Trump has, a lot of businesses involving crypto. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Propy. Propy's leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. Propy's using both AI and blockchain to disrupt the real estate process. You can buy and sell a house on Propy for Bitcoin and other crypto assets, which is amazing, right? So you can go check out their listings. And they use Coinbase for the crypto escrow service, and they've been around since 2017. They have facilitated over $5 billion in deals. Legendary investor Tim Draper is an investor in this company, and they've put deeds on chain. They've created NFTs for properties. So they're doing some amazing things. They actually just raised $100 million to go acquire different companies and bring blockchain and AI to those companies and so forth. So I am a Propy token holder. I'm very bullish on this project long term. I actually started investing in Propy since 2018 because I saw they were the only ones targeting the real estate industry, and I recognize that blockchain is going to disrupt every industry. And we are seeing real estate going on chain now, plus the mortgage and the buying and selling process will be disrupted by blockchain. And like I said, Propy's leading the charge here. So folks, if you'd like to learn more about Propy, go to propy.com. Link will be in the description. Folks, we have huge XRP news. So Billiton Diamond and Ctrl Alt tokenized $280 million of polished diamonds in UAE using Ripple custody and the XRP Ledger. This is an interesting one, and we're seeing almost every asset going on chain, right? We have to see to what degree, these assets are all put on chain. Some may not be put on chain because it doesn't make sense, but certainly a lot of assets will be. So let me give the details. The project aims to create an institutional grade tokenization pipeline for polished stones, but broader platform rollout and distribution will depend on approval from Dubai's Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. While Ripple provides the underlying custody and token infrastructure, key market details such as redemption mechanics, minimum lot sizes, and pricing for individual stones remain unclear, raising questions about how tradable the tokens will be beyond a controlled pilot. Now, many of you know I will be doing a fireside chat on X Spaces with Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. So I'll ask him about this. But huge adoption of the XRP Ledger, and they're going to use Ripple's custody service as well. So this is why Ripple has been accumulating these custodial companies, building out their whole infrastructure. They got the blockchain already where people can tokenize. They built a stable coin running on that blockchain as well. Plus they have the custody. Plus they've acquired some of these TradFi companies. So they're building this massive network to be able to bring things on chain and provide the same service that TradFi is used to in the traditional world. So very bullish news here for Ripple and XRP, as the XRP ledger is going to be used for tokenization. Now, big Ondo finance news. So MetaMask adds tokenized US stocks, ETFs, and commodities on the Ondo blockchain. So Ondo is all about tokenization. You know, that is their swim lane. And MetaMask, many of you know, is a huge wallet backed by Consensus, which is, of course, the founder and creator of the Ethereum blockchain. So MetaMask, the self-custodial crypto wallet developed by Ethereum software company Consensus, is rolling out access to tokenized US stocks, exchange-traded funds, and commodities through Ondo Global Markets. Starting Tuesday, eligible MetaMask users in non-US countries will be able to access 200 tokenized US stocks, ETFs, and commodities such as gold and silver on the Ethereum network, the company said in a statement shared with Cointelegraph. So the offering allows users to acquire tokenized assets via MetaMask swaps by swapping Circle's USDC stablecoin into Ondo Global Markets GM tokens, which are designed to track the value of their underlying assets on a one-to-one basis. So huge news for Ondo here. I am an Ondo token holder, so I'm bullish on this project. Now we got more altcoin news, and this is around Stellar Lumens. So Rails taps Stellar to launch on-chain vaults for institutional derivatives liquidity. So great to see adoption of Stellar continuing. And I am a Stellar token holder, which is XLM. So let me give you the details. Institutional crypto derivatives provider Rails announced the launch of institutional grade vaults on the Stellar network on Tuesday, allowing brokerages, fintechs, and other intermediaries to plug into crypto perpetuals via a single backend. The company aims for options trading in Q2 2026. Satraj Bambra, CEO of Rails, told Cointelegraph that the core idea was to separate matching from money. The critical difference is custody and verifiability, he said. Rail runs a centralized matching engine while client assets will sit in audited smart contract vaults on Stellar. Every 30 seconds of profit and loss, P&L, fees and liabilities are committed on chain as Merkle roots that institutions can independently reconcile against their own records. So really great adoption here of the Stellar blockchain. Now, here's some news around Canton Network. Many of you know I've been telling you all about this chain, and it's backed by a lot of Wall Street firms. I am a Canton token holder. I told you guys when I took my position, and investing in Canton actually worked out really well because the token's been up. So Fireblocks integrates Canton Network for regulated on-chain settlement. So great to see Canton getting adoption. And if you guys recall, I recently interviewed one of the folks from Fireblocks, I think Ezra Solomon. So this was at the PayPal Borderless XYZ Stablecoin Summit from a week and a half ago. So crypto infrastructure company Fireblocks has added support for the Canton network, allowing financial institutions to custody and settle assets on a privacy-enabled blockchain designed for regulated markets. According to Tuesday's announcement, the integration enables governed settlement of the Canton coin through Fireblocks platform and its New York Department of Financial Services chartered trust entity. The offering is aimed at banks, custodians, and asset managers exploring tokenized securities, deposits, and other regulated instruments that require private settlement and strict controls. Financial institutions can custody Canton coin via Fireblocks and apply its existing enterprise policy controls and workflow automation when settling assets on the Canton network. Fireblocks also operates a super validator on the network, giving it a direct role in transaction validation and governance. Now, folks, look at this news. It just speaks to the growing adoption of blockchain and the token economy, which we've been talking about for a long time. And of course, I've been telling you guys the future economies, markets, and governments will all run on blockchain rails. So the Spanish Red Cross launches a privacy-first blockchain and platform. So this is interesting. It sounds like they're doing their own blockchain, and we know there are going to be private permission blockchains that companies are going to use internally. But as we've seen, and with huge capitulations from big institutions like JP Morgan, they have to bridge to public chains for settlement and liquidity. Because if you got your own private chain, that's fine, but don't expect anybody else to adopt it and trust it, right? But this is where you can bridge on those public chains. So the Spanish Red Cross has deployed a new blockchain-based aid distribution system, RedChain, that promises real-time donor transparency without exposing the identities of the people receiving assistance. According to a release shared with Cointelegraph, the platform, developed with Barcelona-based infrastructure provider Block, Block, and zero-knowledge credential firm Billions Networks, aims to digitize the entire aid lifecycle from donation to disbursement. So this is great. You have, that transparency, putting it on chain, right? So it replaces paper vouchers and prepaid cards with ERC20 aid credits issued on the Ethereum blockchain, delivered to a mobile wallet that can be used at participating merchants via quick response codes or QR codes. So, guys, this is really great. So beneficiary data, including names, contact information, and case records, are kept entirely off-chain in the red chain, the private system. And the public chain is used purely as a verification layer, anchoring hashes, timestamps, and integrity proofs of transactions rather than personal information. So this is the hybrid model I'm talking about here, right? They have their own permission chain, which keeps the user data and their personal information safe, right? But for certain things, they bridge or use the public chain, which is Ethereum. So huge adoption of Ethereum here, and I'm an ETH token holder, so this is really great. I love the adoption we're seeing, and I think this is the model we're going to see from many institutions. Their internal private permission chain, while using a public chain for the bridging, the liquidity, the settlement, and moving information. So really, really great adoption news here. Okay, look at this. VistaShares launches Treasury ETF with options-based Bitcoin exposure. So this is an interesting one. VistaShares has launched BTYB, an actively managed exchange-traded fund listed on the New York Stock Exchange that allocates most of its assets to U.S. Treasuries while using options strategies to provide weekly income and Bitcoin-linked price exposure. According to the Tuesday announcement, the fund allocates about 80% of its portfolio to U.S. Treasury securities and related instruments, with the remaining 20% tied to Bitcoin price movements through a synthetic covered call strategy. Holdings data shows the fund's Bitcoin-linked exposure comes from call options on BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust. So one of the things we've been talking about a lot, guys, since the ETF launch of Bitcoin ETFs and others, is that it's going to go beyond simply spot ETFs. They're going to create all types of unique financial products that are going to be a mixture, some crypto, some U.S. Treasuries, and other types of assets. So this is a great sign. You're seeing crypto being integrated into other financial products. So they're really financializing Bitcoin and the crypto asset class. And remember, it starts with Bitcoin, and then they usually go to different altcoins. So very, very interesting setup here. Now, this is an interesting news item, guys. So XAI, and I think this is merging with Tesla, by the way, right, is hiring crypto expert to teach AI models how crypto quantitative traders analyze blockchain data, model tokenomics, evaluate on-chain flows, manage extreme volatility, exploit inefficiencies across centralized and decentralized venues. So a couple takeaways. One, AI has to be trained about crypto, the trading, the use case, all these things, right? But that whole data set has to be built out. So, if you're an expert and you want to grab this job, check it out, guys. And second, clearly this is being built so that the AI can take over and get rid of traders. But, maybe you can have your own version and have it trade for you and all that. Now, I don't trade crypto. I don't use, leverage and so forth. I do swing trade. So for example, I'll buy spot when the market's down and, the charts show that there's a move coming, right? And then that's a dedicated portfolio. It's separate from my long-term holding. And the swing trade, you can do it. You take the same funds, once you make your profit and keep reusing it for different coins. So that's something I do, but there's no risk there because I'm not, using leverage. So I don't get liquidated. If the price goes down, I could just simply move it to my long-term portfolio or just move to another coin or whatever it is, right? You guys get what I'm saying. But this is an interesting move here. And, other AI companies may be doing the same thing, building data sets for the AI to understand the different intricacies of the crypto asset class, the trading, the building, the blockchain data, the metrics, all these things. So very, very interesting. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. Grab a copy. It's available in paperback and digital. And sign up for my course if you want to expand your knowledge about the crypto asset class. Knowledge is power. So this course will help you to understand all the facets of the crypto industry. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.